So this is weird doing it this way, but it's 6:30 p.m. We'll call the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. Today's date is the 24th of March, 2020. Since the governor has suspended, I'm not sure if I have to read an actual statement, but the governor has temporarily suspended some of the open meeting law requirements so that we can do this remotely. We will have everyone who is participating and who will be speaking identify themselves by name. This is being recorded. It will be available online later. Anyone who wants to speak, Andrew, I do not see a chat box. I'm going to have to rely on you.
All right.
Does anyone else?
There's enough. I say it's not crowded enough of a room, so as long as somebody identifies himself, you might want to just recognize them after they've identified themselves. Just give them a second to come off mute.
All right, yeah. So it's going to break up if too many people talk at once. So Andrew gave me some good guidelines for using Zoom meetings. Anyone who wants to speak, if they do want to speak on an issue, they'll be recognized. All votes are by roll call, and anyone who speaks will be given 3 minutes. And we'll count on Andrew to watch the clock since he has the, I believe, the master controls. That being said, I believe we only have 2 items on the agenda this evening, and that is basically COVID-19, what we're doing as a town, how we're addressing it, and an update, and the upcoming election. That being said, Andrew, we have to have everyone who's here before we actually begin to go any further identify themselves, correct?
Correct. Anybody who's here that is a member of the board, a voting member of the board, should identify themselves.
So David Singer, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Karen, you want to go?
Karen?
Yep, Karen Spiewak, Vice Chair, Board of Selectmen.
Bill Borowski, Clerk, Board of Selectmen.
Deb, go ahead.
Deb Noble, member, Board of Selectmen. Go ahead, John.
John McGrath, member of the Board of Selectmen.
Is there anyone here from the Board of Health? Okay, they were invited. They do know about it. I believe we have Representative Durant. He is here as well.
I am. Thank you for inviting me tonight. Sorry it took me a second to hit my unmute button, but
All right.
good to be here.
So is Representative Frost or Senator Goby here, or we have anybody else, or is that it?
David,
Yes.
this is Deb. I see that we have several individuals muted. One of them is identified as Jim. I wonder if that's Jim Philbrook.
And Ann Goby, I am here.
Okay.
Oh, and there's Ann. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Chairperson, I'd also like to recognize Anya taking time out of her day to join us. So thank you, Anya.
Yeah. So that may be Jim Philbrook from the Board of Health, I'm guessing. We also have Senator Goby. Ann is here as well with Peter.
I'm going to reach out to Jim and ask him to unmute himself.
If that is in fact him. Okay.
Right.
All right. So while you're doing that, the one thing I would like to say up front is thank you to everyone. This is an awkward, to say the least, way of doing this, but the method appears to work. Our thanks to everyone who's helped us out through these times. Representative Durant, Senator Goby. I can say flat out that Ann, Peter, Paul have been working very hard on our behalf at the state level, fighting for Charlton and the communities that they represent, and to get us information as fast as possible. So thank you to them. Thank you to all of our first responders, our police, and our fire. And I'm pretty sure I say this on behalf of the whole board. You guys put yourselves in harm's way in more ways than one. It's not always bullets and fire. Sometimes it's a virus. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of the members of this board, the Board of Health, all of the employees of the town of Charlton who are doing their best to provide to the residents of this town remotely to ensure that services do are continue to be provided, and to everyone in this town who I think continue to prove why Charlton, no offense to Peter and Ann, but why Charlton is the place to be. I'll say it, I said it before, I'll say it again. The people of this town always rise to the occasion and always have each other's backs. And just seeing what they've been doing and the volunteerism, the making of masks, the offering to deliver food, So a big thanks also to everyone in the town of Charlton, because we're all in this together and we're all going to get through this together. So while it is serious, you also have to continue to live and work and get outside. You know, life isn't ending because of this. Take it seriously, but just use your head. So Deb, have you heard from Jim? Because I can keep talking forever, so.
No, I did not. Well, I did hear from Jim, and he stated he's not on the call,
Okay,
but Matt Gagner is on the call,
okay, so,
or he should be on the call.
all right, so if anyone notices Matt, we'll ask him to identify himself. So Andrew, what's the first item on the agenda?
The first item on the agenda, let me see if I can get this up. If you want to read the agenda off, and then the scheduled appointment will be the Board of Health, but I guess if you want to start first with the updates from the representatives, would be a good place to start.
Yeah, Peter and Ann, if one of you wants to go first or second, and also just to be clear, we are greatly appreciative that you took the time out of your busy schedules to be on this call at 6:30 at night. You know, if you have something you want to say, you are obviously more than welcome. Don't feel obligated. If you want to contribute, you're more than welcome to. If you simply want to provide answers to directed questions, that's fine too.
David, I'll just say that, well, again, thank you for inviting me here tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions. As you all know, there's so much information coming in all the time. It's coming in very fast. I have tons of notes here just in case depending on what you want to talk about. And to be honest with you, Senator Goby and I touched base briefly before this, and it was kind of that, gee, where do we even start? I'll be very brief and just say some things that have just come in the last few hours or so. As you probably know, Massachusetts is now up to 1,159 cases and 11 deaths. There were an additional 382 cases from yesterday. I think that's mostly coming from the fact that the test kits have been coming in. We've been rolling out tests in mass. So we're seeing a lot more positives come in. As of 4 p.m. today, 13,749 residents, Massachusetts residents, have been tested. So you can see how many more residents have been coming in. So we're seeing that uptick come in. Locally, we have one confirmed case over at Harrington Hospital, and that person is in ICU, and 2 other patients that are being treated in ICU but are currently awaiting results. There is a new number out, or if you are interested in getting even more updates than what you're currently being inundated with, residents can text COVID-MA, COVID-MA, to the number 888-777. And that will get you updates coming into your cell phone via text. Again, that's you text COVID-MA to the number 888-777 to receive updates by text message. And just probably one of the local things here is CMRPC is sending out checks to the boards of health. Charlton is getting an $8,000 check. We know that's not going to cover expenses, but it's just a small payment that's coming out. You should see that relatively soon. I have the 23rd, so yesterday as it being sent out, but I can't confirm it other than that. And finally, just as my quick update goes, the governor filed H4974, which is the 3rd COVID response bill that's been filed by the governor. This was an act further addressing challenges faced by municipalities and school districts. There's a number of different things in it that we can talk about if you would like. A lot of it has to do with the judicial. We have some municipal permitting, which has been extended. Things of interest to people mostly that we're seeing is on the school end. Section 10 of this bill suspends the cap on hours. Oops, no, that's not for schools, but it suspends the cap on hours for compensation for retired employees collecting a pension that need to work at in the town on an emergency basis. Municipal employees who qualify that have reached their cap on hours can still work under this extension. Again, this is a bill that's filed. We expect to take it up and it be passed very quickly. Tax bills can be extended from May to not later than June 1st. Let's see, schools, this bill would modify the MCAS by permitting the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education to modify the graduation requirements. It can suspend statutory authority for fiscal year approval of their fiscal year 2021 budget for regional school districts. That may not be of great help to local towns, so I know that that could be difficult. Let's see, extends the Student Opportunity Act deadline by permitting the commissioner to extend to April 1st the 3-year plan to address persistent disparities. So there's a bunch of things coming out in this bill that the governor's just filed. Again, that's real brief. But we are looking for an additional state funding and state and federal funding right now for members and a lot of the issues that are coming up. A lot of people have been having questions about unemployment. As you know, yesterday the governor put out his essential employee mandate that you can't really leave except for essential employees. That list is really broad, and I would encourage anybody to go to the website to find out if their particular industry has been designated as an essential employee. It's been expanding, and so we get that kind of information coming out. Again, kind of convoluted and very quick. I'm happy to answer questions, and I know may want to speak on a couple of things and be happy to answer questions as well. That's my brief update.
I'll be
Thank you.
glad to jump in. Peter was braver than I am, and actually you can see him. I am that very attractive circle with the white. I don't know what the heck that is, but anyway, thank you, and thanks for everything that you're doing, because obviously it is a rather stressful time for everyone, and hopefully you're receiving the updates, Andrew, that I've been sending. I hope. Yes. Okay, good. Just a couple of the things to piggyback on what Peter had mentioned. The House and Senate are also working on their own municipal package, and that is in third reading in the House. We're expecting that will come out Thursday. A lot of it mirrors what the governor has in his municipal package, and we're also very focused because we know people are very concerned about changing town meetings. And so that will be addressed in the legislation coming out hopefully this Thursday as well. The other thing I did want to mention was that a couple times a week the Senate is caucusing by phone, obviously. And today, because a lot of people are very concerned what's going to happen with the budget process, Chairman Rodriguez, who is the Senate Ways and Means Chairman, he mentioned that the experts that the House and Senate met with back in December, when they were coming up with setting a revenue number, of course, things have changed dramatically just in the past couple of weeks. So all those people that will be coming together again, there will be another economic summit at some time in the not too near distant future, when we have a better idea of what we're going to need for finances, so we can see how quickly things can change. We were feeling pretty flush just a few weeks ago, and this has now happened, and things aren't looking so great anywhere. I know that before I came on this call, I went to get some takeout tonight at one of my local favorite spots down at Chef Sal. Karen, you know that place as well, down there with Mike Wong. And Mike said he's all done. Tonight was going to be his last night. He just, to give the folks that he works with a break and not really knowing what's going to happen. And we see that business to business to business. So it's a very stressful time for an awful lot of people. So we'll do what we can on the state level. Obviously, we need help with from our federal partners. And we appreciate everything that you're doing on the local level, especially when it comes to what's happening now with some of the business closings. Obviously, that's for the locals to enforce, kind of left that up to you. So a lot does get left on your plate as well. So again, I just really want to thank you. I also want to say a special thanks to the school district to make sure that kids that need meals are still getting those. That's extremely important.
Thank you, Ann. The
Through,
one thing,
through the chair,
yeah, John.
I'd just like to say a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to thank Ann and Peter for the bipartisan work that they're doing to move, to move forward through this crisis. We don't hear a lot of the things that we're hearing coming out of Washington. And I just want to, I want to say thank you for that. I also want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor for the way they've been handling this. I think they, along with several other governors, are models in this. And I want to say to you, David, and to Andrew also, that I think that between you two and Jim Fulbrook and Matt Gagne from the Board of Health, that all the information that we've been getting both at the state level and at the local level has been concise, factual, and delivered timely to the residents, in a 24-hour period. And I think that makes a huge difference in how our citizens in the Commonwealth and our citizens in the town handle us. So, I just want to probably one last time jump up on the soapbox and just say that. So.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
If I may, one thing I'd like to throw out there, and most of you guys know, I don't really do politics and religion on social media for a reason. I'll leave that to the rest of you. But on that point, the town of Charlton has our own website. We also have our own social media presence, and several members of the board have their own political sites, and they also share that information. I would like to really get this message out to everyone who may be out there and maybe watching. There's a lot of misinformation going around, and I'm even hearing more of it today about extensions to the advisories, and I've checked with Andrew. Please don't buy into a lot of the baloney being spread. If you have a question, dial 211 regarding COVID-19 to the state. If you have a question and you're looking for an answer, go to the Town of Charlton website or our Facebook page first. We get the information we are provided online within 24 hours or less. So if the minute Andrew or I or the Board of Health find out that there's going to be an extension or an advisory, we get it up there. So instead of going by the rumor mill online, check the town site for accurate information. If you need help, contact the town. Myself, other selectmen, other members of our community, we can coordinate. If you need someone, if you're a senior, and you need someone to go to the store for you, we're all here to help. But, reach out to the town. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, may I just jump in here real quick?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I just want to echo that, because I think that's a really important thing to say. There's so much misinformation going on out there that I would really stress that residents, anybody looking for information, find that information from a trusted source. Local town source, the website there is fantastic. It's a great resource. The state has great resources. You mentioned 211. But that's just so important. We're seeing so much misinformation going on that it's hard to actually keep up with a lot of it. We're fielding a lot of calls at the office about some of those things. And I just wanted to kind of bring up one of the things that people have been calling quite frequently about is unemployment insurance. And are they eligible? We're seeing a lot of, obviously a lot of people are being put out of work. And one of the things I've been telling people, the easiest way to tell if you are eligible for unemployment insurance is if you receive a W-2
Peter. And I saw earlier today, I think it was CVS, because of what's going on, and I'm not sure if this will help anybody, but there are a lot of people, I have several people in my own family who work retail. Some of them are getting very hurt by this and haven't been to work and can't go to work, and they're not going to earn any money. But I believe there was a post somewhere in the news today that CVS at the national level will be doing about 50,000 hires across the country. So when you get down to the local level, it's not really that many, but they need that much help in order just to provide during this time. So there may be new employment opportunities. If you're laid off, go to a CVS, go to a supermarket. The essential businesses that are still open may have a need for additional employees to cover 6 shifts. People who themselves may be out sick and they have to cover those shifts at the supermarkets, and those essential businesses may still be hiring for shifts, so that people who do need some kind of income may be able to find at least some supplementary income as well. Andrew, is that it for this? Are we on to the next item, or is there anyone else have anything to say? It's weird doing it this way.
I know. I had to swap over to the phone just because the audio wasn't holding up. Yeah, and unless anybody else from the public has anything to add, I think we can, or that you want to entertain, then I guess we can move on to the next thing.
Through the chair?
Karen?
Yeah, quick comment. I know we've been reaching out to the residents in the town via phone calls, and I'd like to know, maybe Andrew, you could let us know, have we been receiving a lot of calls for help? Because as you know, a lot of senior citizens or residents in general don't necessarily subscribe or take part in social media, so it's important that they get the information. And I just wanted to know, are we getting a lot of calls, and if so, about how many, and I'm assuming we're able to handle the requests coming in?
Yeah, our office hasn't directly received a lot of those calls. Those have been mainly going to the Council on Aging. The outreach coordinator has been working to make sure that, like, anybody that does regularly contact the senior center or receives services regularly continues to get those. But as far as directly to this office, we haven't. But again, any outreach that anybody from the board or anybody in the public can do for anybody that they know does have a need, let us know, and we can work to try to make those contacts. They say the phone hasn't been ringing off the hook, but we are here still, to answer those calls.
So Andrew, to that point, could we do 2 things, please?
Yep.
One, could we make sure that not only on the town website, especially during this time, so people don't have to drill down through all the links on the website, can we kind of make it front and center, the link to get that help? Can we also put that on the town's Facebook page? That's my first request. My second request is, can we set like a helpline link on either our website or our Facebook page that comes to our office as well? Not everyone that might need help is going to be a senior. We want to help our seniors. We want to help everybody. You might be a younger family and you're still under quarantine because someone had COVID-19. I want to make sure that anyone who needs help in Charlton has a method of contacting someone in some office in our town to get whatever help they might need, even if it's just getting something from the grocery store for them, just to make sure that we're here for our residents.
Okay, I can get that set up.
Thank you.
And if perhaps we also want to issue some kind of press release. Some people do still read the newspapers. Just saying. But seriously, we should be using a multi-pronged approach to get this information out to connect the resources. So
I agree.
Well, we could do, we have a lot. We have the TNG, we have the Stonebridge Press, we have Mass Live. So I would recommend, if we're going to do that, we hit every local news outlet there is in hopes that at least one or two of the several we have will pick it up.
David?
All right.
Yes, Deb.
David? Can I just let you guys know what's going on at the human services level?
Yep.
So, as you guys know, I administer a Section 8 program. It's a federal program. And my funding and all the Section 8 funding for housing has been secured through the end of May. I've already got notification about that. And many of the housing authorities that receive their funding through DHCD have been given very strict guidelines about what to do for their seniors and their elders. For example, we have sign-in sheets on all the doors so that anybody who goes in and out of a building where a senior lives has to sign in and out. In case anybody in that building gets diagnosed, we have a trail, a paper trail, because even though a lot of folks are staying home, those essential employees like myself and the visiting nurses, we're still going out every day and seeing people. So all social services are still up and running. Unfortunately, we're not doing any face-to-face visits unless we absolutely have to. All that information and communication is via email or over the phone. And you'd be surprised how many seniors are very tech savvy and email me all the time. But those services have never stopped. All the social and human services are considered essential employees, and they're still working every day, as well as the visiting nurses and healthcare. So if you want to reach some of the seniors and make sure that they're doing okay, a good point of contact for the town of Charlton would be the executive director at the Charlton Housing Authority.
So make sure we get that contact information up front too, please.
And I'd be happy to reach out to her tomorrow when I'm in the office.
Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome.
Anybody else before we move on to the next, the next and last item on our agenda tonight? No, I guess then Andrew,
Yep.
the next topic for discussion would be the election.
Yeah, so with the most recent legislation that's come forward, it's given the authority for the Board of Selectmen to postpone the town election, and obviously subsequently the town meeting would be looking to postpone as well. In talking with Karen LaCroix, the town clerk, today, we discussed the most feasible solution to push both of those dates by 1 month. I know Karen is on this call if she wants to unmute and provide any additional information. But that's where we stand on that for right now, and up to you guys to deliberate.
So Andrew, would it behoove us to postpone the 1 month, or just to postpone but don't give the date yet, sit on it? Because if I read the email correctly earlier, we can postpone, but we don't have to give an exact date yet. We can watch, be cautious, see what happens. And as long as we give 20-day notice to the public, then make a decision on the date, or do we have to make the decision on the date now?
That's correct. You could actually just make the determination to postpone at this time. And as long as you give a 20-day notice prior to the date of the election, that's sufficient.
I'd like to say on that, if we can do it,
Karen LaCroix.
farther out than the 20 days, that would be great. It's best to get absentee ballots, which will probably have a lot going out, to people. We have to order those and then get them out. So, you know, it'd be great at the 30-day mark. Legally, it has to be 20 days, but from, you know, the ease of having that, it'd be better at 30.
Okay, so we can give more notice than 20.
Correct.
Okay, so Karen, for the benefit of anyone who may be listening, watching, or tuning in later, how can they get an absentee ballot if they wanted to go that route?
So there'll be applications, we'll have them on the website. They're there all the time anyway as an absentee ballot. Those have stipulations around them that most town clerks aren't, you know, they don't really worry about it too much. You're supposed to be you can't make it to the polls, you're going to be traveling, you're away at school. But pretty much if you come in, you want to fill one out, we usually let you. So you can come into the town hall, which now, at this point, you wouldn't be doing that. But in the legislation, they also allowed early voting, which is not, for mail-in early voting. So it's not early voting like it's been for the presidential or primary, where you're going to come in and early vote specific hours. The early voting legislation just allows no reason to do a mail-in. So I know it's a little, it's probably kind of confusing the way I'm saying it. So absentee, you're supposed to have a reason. Early voting, you don't need a reason.
Okay, so and I guess one reason I ask, thinking about our seniors. So let's say COVID-19 it's not going to be gone. All right, we know it's not going to be gone in a month. It might have flattened out. The curve may have flattened out in a month, but COVID-19 won't be gone. Considering our seniors, right, and we want them to be safe, if a senior says, look, I want to exercise my right to vote, COVID-19 is still out there. The curve is flattened, but I'm still at risk. I don't want to come to a poll, wait in line by a lot of other people that may give this to me. They can still absentee vote. That would be a valid reason, correct?
Correct. So they can there'll be an application. It'll say early voting application. So they'll just fill that one out as opposed to one that says absentee application. Now we have, I don't know, maybe 20 absentees that people want for every election all year. Those would go to them. So it's basically the same application. It's just one says early voting, one says absentee. So yes, they would just fill one out that says early voting or absentee. We would mail them a ballot and they would mail it back to us.
Okay, and they can access that via www.townofcharlton.net, correct, in the clerk's office?
Correct.
Okay.
And we don't have, until we decide what we're doing, then we'll get that up there for them and put all that information out when we know what to do.
All right, thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Andrew,
Yes.
next steps. Any selectmen have anything to say on this?
Mr. Chairman.
Thoughts? Oh, this is coming.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, my preference on this one, outside me smoking my cigar on my deck, is that in order for people to plan, inclusive of the schools, including Karen, potential poll workers, if we have to find replacement poll workers, if people don't feel comfortable for coming in for a variety of different reasons, I'd probably go with the 1 month or so now and probably recommend that we just work with the schools and try to reserve June 6th. If Karen and Eric and others are available, if the other members were so inclined, that way people can plan whatever it is that they'll be doing. So we can just say, look, June 6th is the election. For those listening at home, one thing to note is that if we do postpone the election, all current officials will serve until the election. So it's not like terms will end on May 2nd. And Karen, Karen LaCroix, correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately it goes through the election. So basically it would be an extension of a month. My personal feeling would be that I wouldn't want to take on any major policy initiatives during that month, just because it's a very unusual process for us. But my preference would be to actually have a date now and just say June 6th.
We would have to check with the school too. So I guess we could say, and make sure that we can still have it there.
Yeah, and Karen LaCroix, that's why I was thinking more and more, if we can actually give them a date now, we might be better off for scheduling, because if they come back and say, no, June 6th isn't going to work, then we can come up with, or even potentially tonight, we could come up with a secondary date. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'm curious to hear what the rest of my colleagues think.
Through the
David?
chair.
No. Okay, John.
All I want to say is I'm going to abstain on this vote only because it would be extending, my time in office past what I was voted for. So I will abstain, and I'll let the sitting selectmen that are going to continue on make the vote.
So John, just when you and Deb thought you were riding off into the sunset.
He beat me to it. He beat me to it. So the only comment I would have after that, through the chair, would be that if the board does decide to set a date to postpone it, that you put some sort of caveat in there that says you can revisit it should it not be feasible in June.
I think that's one of the advantages of taking the vote to postpone without putting a date on it, because that gives us the ability to hold off on the election with the flexibility of making the decision on the date at a later time when we know what's happening. Whether we take it in mid-May, end of May, early June, we can make that decision when we see how the situation around COVID-19 is playing out. What do you guys think?
Can I just add?
Karen?
Sorry, thank you. I believe the legislation says that the election has to be held before June 30th.
Correct.
Right, but we could make the motion and the vote to postpone and not make a date and come back later when we see what's happening throughout the Commonwealth with the governor's actions and decisions and how it affects our residents here. And then at a later date, make a decision. Do we want to do this mid-May, end of May, early or mid-June, knowing we have that window? But again, just saying to everyone here, you might want to take an action to postpone tonight, but you don't have to make the decision of what the date will be yet, because everything right now is changing so rapidly. We don't know if we'll need to put off the election until June 30th. We might need until May 30th. We just don't know yet.
David?
Deb?
In thinking about this, it brings to mind the town meeting.
Yep.
Would there be a motion that would include postponing both the election and the town meeting?
Andrew and Karen, can you answer that?
Be recommended that you postpone both since they both kind of go hand in hand.
Yep.
But the intent, or at least how we brought it forward, was that postponing both 1 month would be most prudent. And Karen, if you have anything else to add.
No, I agree with that. I think if we can do it, I would say the first Saturday of June and then that third Monday of June for the town meeting. But I think we should just, if you can, vote to postpone it tonight. Let's make some calls, see if if the school's available. We don't want to go forward and pick that date if we can't have it. And then you're back to having to choose something else. If that makes sense.
Yep. Anyone?
Karen, Spiewak, what do you think?
I think it makes sense to wait till our next meeting because we don't I agree with David's points, I guess. And then we can find out what dates work for the schools, and we should know that by the next time we meet.
I'd still rather say either the 6th or the 13th, but if I don't have the votes, then, I'm not even going to bother. Don't worry about it. So,
well, Bill, I think you have the votes, you have the support. The only question is, do we want to set a hard date, not knowing what's going to happen? I mean, obviously you have the support to make a motion in a second to postpone. The question
no,
is,
absolutely. Yeah.
the question is simply, do you want to put a hard date on it now, or do you want to wait on the hard date until we get more information from the state on how this is panning out?
Well, I'm just thinking that it's already March 24th. So by the time we really meet again, it's probably going to be, or get any additional real information, it's going to be probably mid-April anyway. And the CDC, their last guidance said they don't want any mass gatherings for 60 days, no matter what. So we're going through mid-May on that by its very nature. So I suppose it's really half dozen of one, six of another. I was just thinking, look, why don't we ask the schools, like, preferential date for the election be the 6th, the secondary would be the 13th, and then we do town meeting. But if we just want to make a motion tonight to postpone, I'm fine with that. I just want to give people as much time as possible to plan, especially I know there are some candidates on the line tonight, so that they can figure out their schedule for, whether it be standouts, whether it be, just being there for the election as well as town meeting and everything else. I think that the sooner we decide, the better. But if we just want to postpone tonight and basically reconvene in a couple weeks and make a decision, I'm fine with that. I just don't want to wait too long.
So Karen, a question on what Bill said, either for Karen LaCroix or for Andrew. Bill mentioned this prospect of giving 2 dates like a primary and a secondary. Is that even an option, or do we have to choose one specific hard date if we're going to make a vote on it?
I would think that if I said if you made a motion on 2 dates, that we could just we could work to affirm those dates, and then if it seems that the earlier date is less feasible, then just have a revote of the board to set the second date.
But again, I'm fine either way. If we want to wait 2 weeks, that's not a problem. I would assume for most people here and in town that it's not going to be before May 30th, and that more than likely it's going to be the first or second week in June anyway. That's my guess. I could be completely wrong.
Well, in fairness, to Bill's point, let's say the governor releases or ends the stay-at-home advisory March 30th. I don't know, he's not, but whatever. April 15th. If he says April 15th or even April 30th. If we do push this off until June 6th or 30th, as Bill is suggesting, right now, none of the people who are running for office have any hope. I mean, they could do standouts beyond the common, but their ability to campaign and go to events are very limited.
Mm-hmm.
That would at least give them time, once the advisory hopefully is lifted, to still have ample time to get out for a period of weeks to the public. Nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
Bill, John, Deb, Karen, if anybody wants to make a motion, please do.
I will make a motion that we are absolutely postponing the election and that we're going to reconvene no later than April 14th to determine. I would also ask that Karen and Eric and Andrew work with the schools and everyone else to figure out what days are open, both for town meeting as well as the election, but preferably sooner than later.
Through the chair, I would ask that Selectman Borowski amend his motion to include the town meeting.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Deb. I actually meant to. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So would you state the motion with town meeting?
All right. So the motion on the floor then is going to be that we postpone both the election and the town meeting. And that as part of this, we ask Town Clerk LaCroix to work with the school department to figure out what days from late May through June, quite honestly, both on Saturdays for the election and then following the election, what possible days are available on a Tuesday night for town meeting, and then we reconvene in 2 weeks or so to actually determine.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Comments?
I have a comment.
Who is that?
Karen LaCroix.
Karen?
Yeah, Bill did say for Tuesday, I believe it's Monday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Completely my fault, Karen.
That's okay. I just didn't want it to screw it up by having the right.
No. I'm so used to selectmen's meetings. That's my problem.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Any other comments? All right. So we have a motion and a second. We will do this by roll call vote.
Actually, Chairman Singer,
Yeah.
may I recommend, if possible, if anyone on the line, because again, I know there may be some candidates on or supported said candidates, if they have anything that they want to add, they may not.
I take it by the silence that there are no other comments then.
Oh, well, that was easy.
All right. And then by roll call vote. Ms. Spiewak,
Aye.
Mr. Borowski,
Aye.
Mr. McGrath,
Abstain.
Ms. Noble.
Abstain.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries 3 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Thank you, Karen LaCroix.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there any other business, Andrew?
I don't know if there's anybody on the line for Board of Health to give an update. Just want to circle back on that.
Anyone? Matt? Jim? Kathleen? So I'm going to assume there is no one
Hearing none.
online. Is there?
Nope, not hearing none.
Okay, I'm going to assume there's no one online from the Board of Health. That being the case, I would simply like to reiterate this board's thanks to all the residents of Charleston for dealing with us and putting up with us during this time. We're doing our best to get the information out to you as fast as we can. When we hear something from the state, from Ann, Peter, Paul, we will continue to get it to you within 24 hours or less, but we will always confirm and verify first. And again, as we discussed earlier, please don't buy into the rumor mill. If you hear something, please go to the Carlton.net website, call 211. Peter, if I'd ask you one more time, if you want to give that number, people can text to get information on the situation sent right to their phone by text message. That's really the only source of information you can trust. There's just too much misinformation out there. So please go to townconsultant.net, go to the town's website page. Oh, hold on. I got Matt Gagner calling me right now. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, let me just say while you're doing that, Mr. Chairman. So again, the state's official website is mass.gov.
Are you on the phone or are you on?
COVID-19. That's mass.gov/COVID-19. And you can text the word COVID-MA, COVID-IDMA to the number 888-777 to receive text updates. So
if I can interject for 1 second. Andrew.
Yes.
Matt is on the phone. He can hear, but he can't speak, like he's muted. Is there any way for you to manually unmute Matt Gagner? He's the chairman of the Board of Health.
Just give me the last 4 digits of the phone number.
What's the last 4 digits of your number? 7093.
All right.
Hello?
All right, you're
He is
on.
unmuted now.
Matt, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, thanks everyone. I've been on, I've heard the entire discussion. I tried to chime in a few times and couldn't figure it out. Yeah, just for an update from the Board of Health, I gotta just speak. I know Jim Philbrook's not on the phone, but he is doing an unbelievable job. He is on top of everything. I know he's had several conference calls with Andrew. The two of them are working as a team to try and get through this COVID-19. It's been unbelievable. Jim Philbrook's personally been going to people's house with groceries and giving them to them. He won't accept money, pretty much because he doesn't want people to be touching hands and whatnot. But regardless, he's been going way above and beyond. Jim and I speak 3-4 times a day, just with the current updates and everything. As you know, Charlton at this point has one positive for the COVID. Jim's been fielding calls. We've had numerous companies and businesses in town outreaching. They've been helping, like the Treehouse, and we've had Standard Source deliver masks. We've had Cal Storts and LFB. They've been giving us masks and supplies like that. Charlton still has a decent amount of supplies, but we're getting to a critical point where if we give away too much, we're not going to have enough for the town itself if we needed to open a clinic or had like a shelter-in-place scenario. So we've been weekly meetings with the school districts and the superintendents. We've been discussing things with the Dudley Board of Health. Everybody seems to be on the same page. As Peter Durant mentioned, that Charlton is going to receive an $8,000 grant, and there'll be another round of that, I guess, that second quarter coming up. So that's it in a nutshell. Everything that everyone's discussed seems to be right on point, and you know, that's what I got as far as the Board of Health update.
Through the chair, I'd just like to bring one thing up. Probably, I want to say maybe a week ago, Jim Philbrook, called me up, and they had a person at the rest stop on the westbound side of I-90 that had tested positive and had affected a lot of people and had also affected the facility. When Jim contacted me, he needed some contact information for MassDOT, which I gave him. But the speed with which they contained that individual once they found out about him, quarantined the rest of the staff that had been in touch with them, got a hold of the people at MassDOT to make sure that the rest area was except for the fuel pumps, was closed down, and that MassDOT had somebody come in and sanitize the whole place and disinfect it was unbelievably quick. And to Ann and Peter, I think that you know, the people that handled it at District 3 and down at Park Plaza need kudos for that, along with Matt and Jim for working hand in hand with them. The facility was opened back up within I want to say what, a day or two, Matt, and
Less.
yeah, and it was truly amazing. That could have been a disaster. That you know, that would have been you know, a real big chain reaction. So you know, that's the type of things that are going on that I don't think the average you know, the average citizen knows, you know, the effort that goes into this. And I just want to make sure that that was brought up. We are very, very fortunate to have the Board of Health that we do, and Jim Philbrook staffing it. So along with Andrew was hand in hand with that also. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I gotta say, everyone has stepped up, from the elected officials, the employees, to the residents themselves. One other point, if this helps anybody, they may not know, but the local Walmart, and so this is the one down on 20 and 12, they do have curbside pickup. And who knew they had this before COVID-19, but now it really could help. You can actually place, so if you are afraid of going inside, or if you're a senior, you can place your grocery order online with Walmart. Go to the Walmart in Oxford on 12 and 20. They have a special lane. It's actually painted right in the pavement for a curbside pickup. You just drive your car right up to the curbside pickup. You never even get out of your car. They will come out to your car. They will load your groceries in the car for you, and they'll send you on your way. If that helps anybody.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
Actually,
Dave.
that does bring up another good point, something I'd like folks to be mindful of. I've been hearing from a lot of older people and individuals with questionable health. They're suffering from a great deal of anxiety right now. They're actually, even if they can go into a grocery store for those special hours, they're actually afraid to. Might I request that we post some links to some mental health services or some supportive services on our Facebook page and on our town website?
Yep, no problem. We'll take care of that.
Thank you. It's actually becoming quite prevalent.
All right, there is a question
I was about to say, Mr. Chairman.
from Mary. This is in the chat box from Mary to everyone. The question is, I have a question in regards to social distance and visits. There are exchanges to be done for parenting times, etc. Are these to be stopped to avoid spread or continued per usual? I know there are some parents that may have the same question.
Chairman, I'd have to defer to Representative Duran and or State Senator Goby on that. I mean, I would think that those would continue to go on with care more than anything, but Representative Duran, State Senator Goby, any thoughts on that one? I know it's kind of an esoteric topic, but.
Yeah, let me just say that, you know, I think this can fall into essential exceptions, right? There are certain things that we have to do in life to get along, and I'll just use my my own situation in my household. My mom has a personal care attendant that comes in, and actually we have 3 of them that come in throughout the week. And it's just not something that can be stopped. And my mom needs 16-hour-a-day care. So, you know, you take the reasonable precautions that you can. You try to keep your social distancing where you can, but at times there are essential services that need to take place. And so the question's a little bit, I'm not sure I'm completely following it, but it sounds like it falls into that kind of a category. Where you do your best to stay clean and keep your distances as best you can. But certainly you're going to have to bend the rules from time to time.
I think it's important to keep in mind that if you do bend the rules, you know, still use common sense and do your best, right, to maintain social distancing. If you have to come together, try to observe the recommended distances, wash your hands frequently, disinfect things that other people may touch. We're not trying to scare people, but it really is just common sense. For most of us, if we get it, it can be mild, it could be bad, but for some people, it could be very deadly. And what we don't want to do is have someone like me or someone else who may get it and could get it mildly, then transmit that to someone else, obviously innocently, but then they bring it home to someone else who now gives it to someone who's at risk. So to Peter's point, there are obviously exceptions that are going to have to be made. Life has to go on. People have to support their families, but we just caution you, take care and take great care in the decisions you make and what you do. There's another question. Steve Cronus to everyone. Karen mentioned election needs to be done before 6:30. I'm not sure if it's a question or just a comment. I think it's a comment. And Mary said to say thank you to everybody. Andrew, am I missing anything? Are there any other questions from people who may be participating?
Nope, that looks like everything that we have.
There's one. So Steve Coronas says, Karen mentioned elections need to be done before 6:30. What happens if that can't be done? Secondly, can town meeting be 1 week after the election?
Yeah, President Singer, I think on the first, and again, I'll defer to Representative Duran and State Senator Goby, based upon the recent legislation that the governor is about to sign or has signed, that currently it's been expanded till 6:30. Outside of that, once we set that date, in the absence of Town Clerk LaCroix getting a judge's order, I don't think we can. So I think the assumption is that we're going to do everything imaginable to make sure that this is in fact done by 6:30, and that town meeting is also going to be done by 6:30, one way or another. Karen, Peter, or whomever, please feel free.
Well, I'll just briefly say that's correct. Everything here that we're doing is with the best information that we have at this time. So if going forward things get much worse and things have to be extended beyond that, there'd be legislation that would take care of that. Nothing at this point is off the table, but you're right, Mr. Borowski, that right now 6:30 is the day, barring anything else happening.
The only other thing I was just going to add real quick, of course, once the town meeting date is set, and then the way that Mass General laws are, of course, the town moderator has the ability to suspend town meeting and set another date anyway. But that person has that ability now anyhow.
Thank you, Ann. Is there anything else?
For those who might not be aware, there is a chat functionality in this. If you have questions, because there might be something wrong with your phone, whatever, feel free to type something there and one of us can pick it up.
Yeah, if you move your cursor to the bottom of your computer screen, you should see a little pop-up that lets you invite, see who's on, share your screen. There's a chat bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other questions coming up at this time. Anyone?
Nope.
All right, nothing, Mr. Chairperson. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Excellent meeting, by the way.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We will do this by roll call vote. And I will say again, for a very awkward way, we've never used this method for a meeting before, but it actually worked out pretty well. So
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Good job, Andrew.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
And
Andrew,
through the chair, our next meeting date before we adjourn, can we announce that?
Andrew?
April 14th, yes?
Yeah.
So barring any unforeseen circumstances, it will be another meeting like this.
And I'm hoping that we can set the actual dates, assuming Karen can get in touch with the school department and arrange. So.
Well, you never know. On April 14th, we need to see if Mr. Borowski can get his screen there on a wide screen, and I'll sit 6 feet to his right.
Oh yeah. All right. That's all right. That's up next. We're good.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. We'll do this by roll call vote. Ms. Biwak.
Aye.
Mr. Borowski.
Aye.
Ms. Noble.
Aye.
Mr. McGrath.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, Anya.
See you guys. Stay safe.
Good night.
Bye.
See you, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye, Karen.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.